Greetings, Culturian truth seekers. Today we dive into the whys of the jobocalypse in the mainstream media. You see, it turns out that there isn't just the urinalist pushing out the neo-Marxist doctrine. No. It's Wall Street's insatiable greed and big tech's overreach for power, driving this massive wave of mainstream media layoffs. And of course, that all came about through a growing chasm between the haves and the have-nots. What's worse is the industry is being put to the Kevorkian needle as we speak, and they have been defending and supporting the tech industry and what it was doing all along. So it turns out when you're running distraction ops and interference for a political agenda, you should probably also pay attention to, well, the doom and gloom, so that you can see the writing on the wall. So my friends, we saw this, and I want to thank you for your support in that. But the media is in its death throes for so many different reasons. We're going to expose them now to the bright light of reality, but I really feel like we've been here before. Anyway, are you ready? Here we go! Once again, a quick thankful shout out to our amazing subscribers here on the channel and to the incredible members who keep us going. We're growing this particular fellowship at 18K strong on our way to 50K. And if you haven't joined, hit that subscribe button down below. And with that said, let's talk about the Katrina-sized storm that's hitting the media industry as we speak. Since the beginning of this year, 2024, and as predictable as any other Disney film disaster, layoffs are like wildfire intentionally being set by a Sierra Club activist fighting to, of course, protect nature. And it's not just the newspapers that are being hit or the digital outlets. It's tearing through the heart of what they try to pass off as journalism, which I fondly refer to as urinalism. And as I mentioned earlier in this week, and did my best not to celebrate, the Los Angeles Times, Time Magazine, Sports Illustrated all got smashed with layoffs, extensive downsizing, and even complete shutdown. And it's only going to get worse. The list, of course, of all of these goes on, and it's spread to the digital propagandists like as far as the eye can see. Tuesday, we talked about the collapse of Vice and, of course, BuzzFeed and some other former Wall Street darlings that now sit on the pile of the failure atop the rubble of lies that once powered them. It's a media massacre, but in truth, it's a win. It's a win for truth. And maybe a real win for journalism. It's going to be hard to say. Of course, the new journalists are citizen journalists out there like OMG Media and, well, maybe even yours truly. But we have to boil it down to why this is actually happening. I mean, it's easy to blame the proclivity of pestilence that is social media, and to a large extent, that's probably right. But let's pull back the curtain a bit farther, because Wall Street's greed and big tech puppetry are really the ones that have been pulling the strings all along. From the messaging to merger moves, corrupt corporations are dancing to the stock buyback bingo, and artificially inflating stock prices and sticking their media playthings with the bill, kind of. I mean, the meritless muckraking urinalists who suddenly find themselves the useful stooge are now looking back or looking forward to the chopping block, completely unaware of how their own dogmatic, mindless actions got them to where they are now. Worse yet, they attacked the people who told them that this would happen, people like you and me. And that really didn't go well for them because, well, you're going to hear a lot of I told you so's. Not from me, but from others. And don't be fooled by the tech sector's facade of prosperity, because that's evaporating quickly. In 2023, while the country was boasting low unemployment, which was completely unbelievable, they were boasting about rising wages, which seemed unlikely. And at the same time, the tech industry was axing 262,000 jobs. Ask yourselves a question. Why didn't those job losses show up anywhere? Why did you not hear it widely reported and referenced by these same outlets that have basically fashioned their own doom? Well, there's not a decent answer, of course not. At least not in a significant way. And nothing's changed to this very day. The tech giants are still raking in their profits while their workforce crumbles. I mean, you talk about a Silicon Valley illusion. I'm going to tell you the cracks were already revealing themselves back when SVB and other banks were falling apart. I mean, you can only get free money for so long. Now, let's expose the Wall Street side of this particular tale. It's a two-pronged media strategy that they had from the very beginning. You first go out there with some stock buybacks and you promise some things that you can marginally deliver, at least when it comes to these media companies. And when you're done artificially pumping your value, there's no more need for a lot of the people that are working. So you start axing the jobs. So it's kind of a reverse, like Robin Hood move here, leveraging your workforce to line the pockets of the elite and the executives at the company and those that are invested. Then there are things like leveraged buyouts, financial pillaging systems that basically allow for the value to be stripped out of a company, leaving the workers in the end with nothing but dust. Of course, all at the same time, Wall Street's fattening their wallets, and so are the politicians, which we'll get to in just a moment. And in case you're wondering, we're right now in the phase where basically everything is falling apart and the last drop of value has been extracted. There's nothing left here for anybody to do anything with, which is why you have the problems that you do with the layoffs and the complete loss in all value, which we talked about on Tuesday. So if you work for any of these companies or have in the past, there are going to be no more catered training lunches on how to be more inclusive, and there's no more free wine bar rooftop dinners either. The ideology that you were pimping, it just isn't profitable, and well, you're no longer useful. Now, of course, here's the ticker. It wasn't a secret. The public knew all along. They've known forever. The polls have been screaming for quite some time now that they were well aware. 85% of Americans were pretty convinced this was the likely outcome, and now they're calling it out louder than ever. It's time for the corporations to be held accountable, especially when it's related to media, but who's going to hold their feet to the fire? It's a good question. We'll get to that in a minute. Or maybe we should just visit this now, because it's absolutely the problem of the politicians who are not held accountable for anything either. And despite the elitist best efforts in this recent mess, the divide isn't between the educated and the uneducated. It's between the secure and the shattered. And let me tell you, there's very few left. The plan to destroy the American economy worked flawlessly while the message could be controlled and disseminated. And now, here we are. The companies are actually firing those messengers because they're no longer the useful clods out there that will buy anything and sell anything because they're just used to doing what they're told. They got sold a message in school all along, and, well, indoctrination has a price, as do, well, pretty much everything that you do. It's called consequences, and there are consequences to education and election when both are quite compromised. Perhaps if along the way the employees had been engaged in critical thinking and had, the sense to evaluate what they were being told and what they were being told to say, maybe they could have just predicted what was going to happen by paying attention and doing some real investigative journalism, which isn't even taught anymore. I mean, at that point, everybody would be far better off, but it's just not what actually happened. So is there any kind of a solution? Because one of the things that I was taught when I was growing up by grandparents and parents alike that thought that that would be something that would be important is that you don't bring up a problem if you don't have a solution. Well, I have a few, and I hope you do too. One of the problems is you can't easily tame Wall Street's insatiable greed. It's just the way the machine is built. And you certainly can't count on the bought-off uniparty politicians that line their own pockets from, well, market inside knowledge, which they're getting from the corporations who bribe them in real time and support their campaigns. Now, you have to start to count on a citizen media that, well, the powers that be are continually trying to demonize. People like you and me who are more likely to tell the truth than not and point out things that we can see with our eyes that are actually happening. Oh, and now because it's an election year, you can count on, well, me and many of my friends to be demonized even further, probably at a fever pitch. And it'll be more important than ever to support people like me and my friends and share out channels like mine so that we actually are able to continually get the factual work out there in the open. And perhaps maybe the next time we go out to the polls, we'll elect officials that might actually pay attention to their constituency instead of the corporations, people outside of the uniparty, which is really only serving their best interests, not yours or mine. Oh, and in case you missed it, I'm not pointing you towards who to vote for, because that's up to you after some very careful evaluation. But I tell you, if you get it wrong, I'm going to call out the people that are doing it wrong, and then maybe you take accountability for that. All I can suggest is that we start electing folks that are not beholden to the corporations, that will outlaw stock buybacks perhaps, or curb leveraged buyouts, or just make sure that the FTC actually does their job. How about politicians that reinstate the full breadth of the Smith-Mundt Act that was, well, muted on purpose in 2012 so that you could be lied to? Wouldn't it be nice if the government couldn't lie to you again, or anybody for that matter? I mean, you can lie to the foreign nations, but to your own citizenry, you probably should tell the truth. Oh, and by the way, go out of your way to reinforce the First Amendment, because it should be legal to tell politicians they suck without being under investigation from a 3-letter agency that their taxes pay for. And I know that this seemed like it turned into a political rant, but it really isn't. This is all about the fact that the news media around you has been corrupt for a very long period of time, and it's okay that they fail. It's a good thing. Boy, are they going to hate hearing that. Anyway, if you have anything to add, anything at all, let me know in the comment section down below, because this one got a little bit ranty, and I've got one more coming at you later on. So maybe you'll give me some additional material that I haven't thought about. But I'm going to tell you right now that the layoffs have only just begun, and you're going to hear about entire entities going out of business in the very near future. As always, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see you.